equals 180. Which is what I said. Yeah, earlier.
But this is ABC. So
ABC. Right. 180 is all 180 degrees.
It's 120 plus 180. 300.
300 minus 120 is back to 180.
180.
So you're looking
Fish is 22.
minus 68.
Guys, fish is 22.
90, 22.
Fish is 22.
No, 90, 180.
There is no zero. There is no zero.
All right, minus 68.
Look at this. Look.
Is
If this is half days, guys, if this is half days and that's 2, this and this cancel each other out. There has to be something wrong with
What's
it.
68, 90?
It's
68, 90.
180. 180 minus 90 is 90 minus 68.
is 28.
28.
Right, so this one is 2 plus 20.
180
It says
minus
the
90
fish
minus
is
68 is 12.
Fish is 22 because it says it right there.
22, 2 times 22 is 44. Yeah, but that's
So that's
Before you put that in, I think it's 43.
all third digit you said is 3?
Third digit is 3.
3.
Okay, so what's the other one? What's the other for rest
The
of the
3, 3.
2 is where we're at. We don't know what U is
We
yet.
don't know. We don't know what the
So
rest
one
is.
digit is K.
Here, you.
4 and 5 would be if you're multiplying.
9. How do you know you're multiplying? Maybe you're adding.
9.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, wait, no, U minus the 3 is 6.
6.
6.
6.
So
Last one
Last
is
Number
6.
6.
Yeah.
So
What's
2.
K
All right,
plus
what's the
E?
first number?
Just try them all.
Try them all.
K plus E.
C, K plus E. So, 2 and 5.
7.
7. And then E
5,
is
7.
6.
I don't think that last one's right.
You don't think the last one?
Why would you look 2 up in this key and not 1? Last one?
No.
No.
All right, so there's nothing. All right, so the book's right here.
Tim, Tony,
We might need it.
Taylor.
I don't think we're gonna need it.
Lay out flat, flip on his back, hold on, straight up.
The other one is only has
Detergent is AA.
Wait. Why is Okay. Well.
Was that the same thing in front?
No, that's the one that we just used for the other one.
Once we come in here,
T is 1.
T
So
is
one, T is 1.
T is 1.
4 B's and 3 T's.
T is 1.
T is 1.
Okay, so T is 1.
T is 1.
I don't know, but T is
And
1.
then.
So that's the first number. Second number.
That's
How to fold a shirt in 4 steps. Lay out flat.
Okay, so I bet you
4
B
does
is-
not have
Oh, guys, I heard
Wait,
something.
wait, whoa, whoa, whoa.
There's no
shirts.
B's on
There's
the
4
thing.
B's.
Oh, okay.
Well,
There's
there-
an A, there's 2 A's over there.
Yeah, there's 2 A's.
There's a B on the first one.
So maybe that's the last one.
Up and up, down.
All I know is it says Trump is number 1.
Yeah.
Oh, number is all the T's. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 1, 2.
That was great. That was great information. Bottom up, by the way. I don't know how we figured that out, but that was good information.
It was on the date.
Yeah.
I heard the sound.
Wonderful.
I didn't hear it.
Okay,
Thank
so,
you. Thank you.
Tell me what you like the most about the game.
The cooperation.
Yeah.
Cooperation.
Thought-provoking.
Were you worried you weren't going to get out?
Yes.
Yes.
15 minutes is a
Yes.
short time.
We got stuck last time I did
Very
one, so I was
exciting.
kind of expecting it to happen.
I liked how everything was definitely randomly placed instead of having instructions on a sheet. Just
You had like
have- you
5
to figure
different
out-
instructions for 5 different combinations. So you kind of had to like, okay, what's that first one? All right, let's try it. No, what's the second one?
Right.
Yeah.
Was your adrenaline pumping?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Talk about that.
Definitely. Oh, it's
It
a
was-
rush. It's a rush to try to make sure you can get out, or at least figure out the clues. Or then you hear the buzzer ticking down. You look at the clock, and you, oh
And
my
then
gosh, there's like 4 more minutes.
And then it was exhilarating once that thing popped out. I was like, oh my gosh, we got it. I don't know what the combinations, but we got it. Let's go.
I heard you say, what was it? I don't know, but I got it up. Now, you guys didn't know each other, all of you, going in, right?
This is the only one we didn't know.
No.
Yeah.
We didn't know this.
What's it like working with somebody that you don't know when you're doing this?
You definitely
I
have
think
it's
to
easier.
communicate.
Easier.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely
'cause you're-
easier.
It's easier?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, just because if you're like in there with people that you know, you know, you get all like chatty and everything, you start talking to them, and then you realize there's like 5 minutes left, and you're like, oh wait, I gotta do this. And so, I
Plus,
mean,
with people you know, then you can later you
You
can
won't
give
be
them a hard
angry.
time about it if they
Right,
screwed up.
yeah.
Right.
What was the hardest thing that you guys did?
The hardest thing was trying to figure out like
Did you-
what goes to what and
Yeah.
does this go to this and
Order,
Yeah,
The order.
Yeah,
Seemed more
sequence.
random.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
yeah,
it did.
The second one definitely seemed more random.
You definitely had to check in every place possible, or else you'll miss something.
So, what would you tell the people about the game if they wanted to try it? What would you say to them?
Go do it.
Yeah.
Don't
Pick
give
one
up.
person to be on the lock, one person to be in one section, one person to be on the other, and then just yell out numbers.
Out numbers.
Hand me one of the games, would you?
Murder mystery?
No. One of the top, the escape room. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, now pretend that didn't happen. Okay. So this is the actual board game version. A lot of the clues that you guys were trying to figure out were in there. So take a look at the game and what do you think? I mean, are you excited about this?
Oh yes, definitely.
I'm a big fan of the escape rooms. I love doing them.
Same.
And we just recently did one, and it was really fun.
So now that you've got the board game, what do you think?
I'm excited to try it out.
How come?
Because knowing that we did a life experience, it's gonna be like minuscule, but as fun as the real life one.
Do you think using your imagination with this board game is important?
Definitely.
Why?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, it makes you feel like you're in the scene, not like, oh, you're at your table or anything. You actually feel like you're in there, and actually you feel like the characters. And if you don't make it, then you like, oh no, it's gonna hang on to you, and you're gonna hate yourself for it.
I would definitely play this with my gaming group.
How come?
It's a good thing to get everybody interactive. It's different than what we've normally been playing, like normal board games, and I think that would be fun to have everybody try and figure it out.
Now there's 4 games on the side. Take a look at those and tell me what you think about what you're seeing there.
All right, so the prison break we just did. That was a lot of fun. The virus, that would be kind of interesting.
You guys like
Nuclear
viruses?
countdown.
Yes.
Virus.
No, but also,
Yeah.
That one might be
Too penalizing.
I think the nuclear one would be kind of cool, just because like you're trying to like turn off a bomb or something like that.
The harder the better.
Yeah.
Yeah, the harder the better.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing on there that made you say that?
Oh, just in general, harder the
The
better.
difficulty levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So you can start out basically, okay, so if you have a first group going through, you can start out with the prison break. It has 2 difficulty out of 5, so it's not easy, but it's not the hardest thing. And then once they get used to
fun to
that,
start with.
you can kind of step it up.
It steps up each time, so they get a little harder. So if you think you got the first one down, you can go down to the next one. It's a little bit harder, and we'll just keep going.
It seems like when you get up difficulty, it seems harder. It is harder, I bet.
And if
Just-
you're not playing it every
Yeah.
day, you're not going to remember it. So you could play with different groups and still have a new experience every time you play with somebody different.
Having done one, we did one last summer, an escape room, and we failed miserably at it. But I find we talk about it more because we failed. I think if we had easily gone through it, it would have been like, oh, it was no big deal. So, you want it to be more difficult than what you expect.
But it's one thing, like you were on the lock the whole time, so you didn't see where we were getting the clues.
No, not
so
at all.
you're able to take on different roles and do the exact same thing because you kind of have an idea, but we're just yelling out numbers to him and letters to him, and he's no idea where they're coming from. So you're actually able,
Yeah. Well,
you're able to go back and do it again and just not have the same role and still experience the whole thing again.
I think the one thing with being on the lock was I could tell you, like, no, there is no B in the 4th spot,
no,
so it has
no.
to be someplace else. Like, or there's
That's
these
good
are the numbers
information.
up there.
Yeah.
Fun game?
Yes, definitely.
Say that.
Very fun.
Very fun.
Yes.
All right. Great job, guys.
Thank you.
Very good.
I have one.